Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Jim Carfagna. We'll be discussing his book, Letters to the President, A Look Inside an Administration. And guys, just so you're aware, it's not published just yet. It's still in the process, okay? It's right in the final stages, but be on the lookout. It'll be available very shortly on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I will say, Jim was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business, Parchment Global Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, well, move it to Parchment. You can find them at parchmentglobalpublishing.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Jim here on the line with us today because the book we're going to be discussing, Letters to the President, right off the bat, you have an idea of what it's going to entail. And yes, it does have some nuances and some political views, but really, we're not going to focus on that today, okay? That's going to be part of the book, but it also is part autobiography. So we're really going to be discussing and primarily focusing on Jim's experiences, okay? And listen, if I were to tell you all of the near-death experiences that he's had right now, you wouldn't believe me, okay? So I'm glad we have him here on the line so that he can articulate all of that, because at the end of the day, he's the expert on the topic. He's going to be able to articulate all the nuances in the book much better than I ever could. So without further ado, Jim, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction. How are you?
Thank you. I have to be honest. One of the near-death experiences I describe in the book may not have actually happened, but I think it did. The other two definitely did, though, because I was hospitalized and stuff. So.
Wow. All right. Well,
yeah.
let's get it going, Jim. First and foremost, listen, let's hold off slightly. Let's not jump into the book just yet. Tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I was born with autism. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I do a little bit of music. I'm a pianist and a singer, and unfortunately, I also teach. So teach special needs.
Wonderful.
I myself with special needs. I was born with autism, so and the book sort of details all of that. It goes through my experiences of having had autism and my schizophrenia and everything else.
Well, Jim, that was a mouthful right there. Thank you so much for sharing. And listen, congratulations on the work that you do. I'm sure you do a fantastic job at really shaping and helping mold the young minds of the students that you teach. And having someone of your caliber here on our network, we're truly, truly honored. You absolutely sound like a person of distinction, and we're very glad to have you here. Now, without further ado, Letters to the President, A Look Inside an Administration. Tell us about your book.
Well, it's mostly autobiographical. It details the two near-death experiences that I definitely had. The one that I might have had that I can't really prove because it wasn't hooked up to any machinery. But the other two I didn't clinically pass on, but I did come very close. So one was a near miss, a plane accident, and the second one was a appendicitis attack.
Oh, wow.
And this is all independent of my autism and my schizophrenia. So I won't. Well, I guess I will bore you with the details of my medical escapades because they're in the book.
Jim, really quickly, I'm curious. So you said it was a near miss plane incident, meaning a plane nearly hit you, or you were on a plane that nearly crashed?
I was on a plane that nearly crashed. What happened was I got to the airport I was on my way to Florida with my family, and we got to the airport to discover that there were engine problems with the plane, and that the flight was delayed. And what happened was whatever went wrong with the plane, they never detailed, but they did manage to fix it temporarily, and they boarded the plane and took off, and then whatever went wrong again mid-flight, and we had to turn around and do an emergency landing.
Wow.
The plane did not actually crash, but it was close.
That is incredible. I mean, listen, talk about a horror story. I mean, I know so many people that have that exact fear of getting on a plane because of something like that happening. This is the first time that I've ever actually spoken to a survivor of something of that caliber and that magnitude. That is absolutely incredible. You know, that was the first near-death experience. You said the second one was appendicitis?
Yes. I went off to college because I managed to whittle my way through school, even with the accommodations due to my disability. And I went off to school, and it was my junior year in college, and I went there, and it was move-in day, and I was feeling a little sick, but I moved in anyway because it had only been for 24 hours. And I had only been feeling sick for about 24 hours, and really all I felt was a stomach ache. And so I figured, well, I'll just give it a little Maalox, kind of get on with life kind of thing. And what happened was the stomach ache, in essence, didn't go away. It persisted for the next couple of days, and when that happened, I had been, before I go on, I should say, when I was in grade school, I was forced to take a class on how to spot stuff that's terminal, you know?
Okay.
And one of the things that you look for is if the pain lasts for longer than about 5 days or so. And I was on day 3, and it didn't really show any signs of letting up, so I grew a little concerned, and I went to the doctor, and they missed it. And then and they gave me a prescription and sent me back to my dorm. Well, 2 days later, I was still sick, and went back this time to another doctor, and they also missed it. And then about 4 days after that, when I was still sick, I went and admitted myself to the hospital, thinking for sure that it was, well, not for sure, but I was just as a precaution, mostly to protect against it being terminal, because I figured, if it really was something terminal, that I would be in the right place at the right time. And unfortunately, It turned out to be the worst case scenario, but I was in the right place at the right time. They were able to operate on it. So,
wow,
I got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Jim, listen, thank you for sharing, and good for you for having the wherewithal to go back. I mean, as you stated, you went to the hospital after a few days, right? I mean, you initially anticipated something wrong, and the doctors missed it, right? And they sent you back home. Good for you for having the wherewithal to.
It took me about a week and a half after about a week and a half when I was still sick, I figured for my own. I mean, my doctors had told me that it was nothing major, and I kind of believed them. So I was a little hesitant to go to the hospital, but I decided to go anyway because I'd been stressing over the question for a few days because I'd been told to look out for that in class, and and I figured that if anything, that it would stop me from really convulsing about it at night, because I wouldn't be in any pain, and I also would know for sure one way or the other. So,
absolutely. Well, like I said, man, good for you for having the wherewithal to use your own judgment, going against what the doctors had initially assumed, and clearly you're here today because of that judgment. So fantastic, man. That's great. Now, listen, you said you had a third near-death experience, which it couldn't be, I think you said it couldn't be proven because you weren't actually hooked up to any equipment at the time. Can you please go into some more elaboration on that?
Yeah, it was really more like a dream. I went to sleep one night, and sort of in the middle of the night, I was jolted awake and was informed during this dream, if that's what you want to call it. I think it was more than that, but I can't prove it, so I'll call it a dream. That I had passed on, and they pretty much asked me, do you believe in Jesus Christ? And of course, I was a Bible-believing Christian/Catholic at the time, so I still am, but I was even more so then than I am now. And
Okay.
so I said yes. They whisked me off up there. So, or so I think anyway. I mean, I remember leaving my body and being without, not being really tethered to this world for a few hours or so, and then turning around and being directed that I had to come back in order to, basically because I had more stuff to do. That's what I was told. So that's that. But again, I wasn't hooked up to any machinery, so I can't really prove it.
There you have it. Jim, these are absolutely incredible stories. Guys, I said before, if I were to just say these things to you, you wouldn't believe me. So I'm glad we have Jim here on the line to really go through and articulate all of them for us. Again, here on the line with Jim Carfagna, we're discussing his book, Letters to the President, A Look Inside an Administration. It will be available when it comes out very shortly on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Now, Jim, in addition to everything that we've talked about thus far, thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's go into the title of the book, Letters to the President. Now, of course, we don't want to get into any specific political opinions and political talk, right? We'll refrain from that, but talk to us about that title. Why did you choose to name your book that specific title?
Because at the end of the book, I go into carried on long correspondences for the past with the offices of the past three presidents, and
oh wow!
I just wanted to publish a few of those letters. That's all.
Fantastic, great. So you put out these conversations in which you've had with previous political members, meaning presidents in the past, and that's also in your book.
Correct. Yeah. Some
Fantastic.
of them are not. Most of them aren't, but some of them are.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, let's go into inspiration, Jim. Now, listen, a couple of things, because you're an artist across the board, okay? So, A, what inspired you to write this particular narrative? And then B, and greater than that, because you're an artist, what has inspired you to embark upon a creative journey of this magnitude and become a writer?
Well, mostly I just felt like I had a story to tell, and that it would benefit people, especially because I wrote it in the wake of this COVID nightmare, whatever you want to call it, and I figured that a lot of people would be. I go into a little bit more detail as far as what I experienced on the other side, and I just thought that might be of comfort to people who were perhaps worried about that.
Absolutely.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, of
so
course.
That was mostly my inspiration, and that's mostly it. Yeah.
Now, have you always been a writer? Have you always wanted to be a writer? Or is this just kind of, again, through your experiences in which you just were relaying, that it was almost a thing where you as you stated, it was almost an obligation, right? You wanted to put this out there so that people could take comfort in the experiences that you've been able to experience and kind of be able to partake in that as well.
Correct, yeah.
Wonderful. Now, listen, Jim, next question. I'm curious, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon this journey?
Well, for one thing, this interview, I didn't really anticipate it garnering much media attention, but apparently it did. I guess what surprised me more than anything is I had a lot of fun writing this book, I have to admit. And what just surprised me was my ability to actually get stuff down on paper because, I'm autistic, and so it just it doesn't really flow sometimes when I have to put my thoughts down on paper. So
Absolutely.
I was amazed that I could actually get it done.
Well, listen, we're very glad you were able to get it done as well, because now you guys get to go and partake in all of the experiences that Jim has shared with us in his book, Letters to the President, A Look Inside an Administration. And guys, listen, that's not all, okay? That was the main focus. That was the anchor for the interview that really brought Jim to our network, People of Distinction, today. But guys, as I stated, Jim is an artist across the board. So, of course, we're focusing on his writing talents, but Jim is also a musician. He has a YouTube page and a music website. So the website for him that you can find more of his musical talents is JambalayaJake.com. So there you'll be able to find more of his music projects, more information on Jim himself. And guys, listen, while we're here and while we have Jim here on the line with us, Jim is going to actually bless us with some of his music. Now, Jim, I know you had a song prepared that you wanted to sing for us, or at least a section of a song that you wanted to share from us. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just a little, it's a cover. It's Amazing Grace. That's all.
Wonderful. Well, please, we'd love to hear that. And then, of course, after you're completed with that, if you can share your YouTube page so we can find you on that as well.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see.
Jim, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate that so much, man. Now, again, you have a YouTube page. Where can our listening audience find you?
At Jambalaya YouTube. You go to YouTube and you search Jambalaya Jake. That's my stage name. It's Jambalaya, and then Jake is the second word.
Go to YouTube, type in Jambalaya Jake. You'll be able to pull up his YouTube page, and you can go directly to his music website, JambalayaJake.com, and you'll be able to find all of his music on that site as well. Jim, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence today, man. We truly appreciated having you on. Guys, you know what you got to do, okay? We've said it many times before. I'm going to say it one last time just to make sure that it's truly impressed. The book's not available just yet, but it'll be out very shortly. So keep a lookout for it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. That's Letters to the President, A Look Inside an Administration by Jim Carfagna. Jim, again, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you.